First, well, not first ever, because Corey and I kind of do this like almost every day. But yeah, like a kind of an official AMA, and we realized that like we've been making a lot of changes and going through a lot of things today. And a lot of people have questions, and we don't always have time to get to them. And we actually might not have time to get them all today, but we kind of decided that we want to do a little bit of a regular thing with various team members. So it's Corey, me, Super Sam, Jen's around, and Chris is in the background as well. So we're going to do some gratitudes, and then we're going to go through some Discord questions. And if we have time left after that, we can maybe answer a few other questions to the best of our ability, because we might not always have answers for them all. Right. Only one of us is Super, just Sam.
Just Sam. Yeah, it's. I would imagine it's like just a good idea generally to keep tracking the Discord thing, as far as because we have a spot to collect AMA questions. People have thrown in a bunch of them, so we're definitely going to get to those first. And if we don't have time to answer your question now, feel free to throw a question in there. Getting all organized and crap, Jimmy.
I know, right? Like, what's going on?
I don't even know. Oh, crazy. All right, so all right, Super Sam, you get to go first.
The first thing that comes to mind, which is honestly kind of a throwback, is I'm grateful for my bunnies. That was, I believe, the first one that I ever did when I joined the team. And I don't know why I thought of that. They've been, I've been stressed for the past few weeks, so they've been helping me out, lifting up my spirits, and they're great.
Love it.
And it's a throwback.
Circle is complete. Or something.
The circle of uplift.
Right? Chris.
I'm grateful for coordination today. It's a common one, but...
Me. By the way, anybody watching, feel free to write down a short gratitude, and I'll put it up on the wall. Jimmy.
Yeah, so actually I spent all day like running around in London and mostly around Spawn and writing a post, and I'm just like, man, I'm grateful for Londonites, because those guys are awesome, and gals. Like they're like, Spawn and the connections and jumping around that world, like it's amazing once you actually get in there. Go check out that post and pay those guys some homage, and this team as well. I'm also grateful for this team too.
There are two really cool portal hubs like right next to Spawn at Lundum. So it's
right,
Lundum is getting connected.
Yeah, man. Like, and yeah, there's some cool stuff in there. Definitely go check out the post.
And the hubs are connected to each other.
This is the way.
Right.
I gotta check that out.
Speaking of which, one of the hubs actually teleports you into the tower hub building, which you can only get in through via teleport, which the ground floors are all, portals, and it's got a massive Boba Fett in there. It's pretty cool, Corey. You'd love it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Cool beans. Jen.
I'm grateful for several days of mild weather. It is still well below zero, but it's been above -20.
Awesome sauce. Noise Junkie Records. I got you. I too am grateful for my fellow NFT gens. Holy macaroni and cheese. TC, good morning.
All right. So again, we'll probably try to keep this to like an hour, because I'm sure that we could go on forever. But like I've suggested that we do this bi-weekly or monthly, or it depends on how many questions we have. So if we don't get to your questions, we will eventually somehow, somewhere. And I actually just want to, thank everyone who dropped their questions in the Discord. Smiley, you kind of suck, because the first question is, Jimmy D, if you could shoot one condiment from your belly button, what would it be and why? I didn't see that coming. Like, I thought this was an Uplift World thing. Funny thing about my belly button is like every time I lift my shirt, there's like a little lint ball in there, and like it's weird. Like without fail, it's like it collects more lint than my dryer, and I'm not sure why. Like, but thinking of that, probably liquid gold, because I could use those little gold pellets to pay for things. That's my answer.
That was the most crucial piece of information that we will hear.
Right? I mean, you guys can all take off now. I mean, now like it's like
someone needs to clip that, soundbite it.
Right?
Shout out to Smiley, because he's great in there, which is really cool. So the next the next one comes from Mickey. Where can we find all the locations of featured land plots, whether it be gallery or past events, and that are featured by the journal articles? I'm imagining a Disneyland style of infographic land plots. I do this for my team and see the attachment. So there's a few people that can answer this. I know Tuttle's got an answer for it, but I also do as well. One of the things that Corey and I have been talking about for a really long time is setting up a base in Spawn or close to Spawn of each world that showcases these articles, and we just haven't got around to it yet. So like, I know Sam's working like in London, so we'd like to put up some there. We've got some for Genesis. Like, we'd actually like to have this in world. Although Tuttle, I think you might have another kind of variation on this answer as well.
A little bit. Yeah, I mean, so two sides of this. First one, we've always had on our roadmap, and you'll see it in the white paper on the roadmap, that the idea is to have an Upliftium burn to put points of interest, to put shops, to put sign punches or events that you're having right up on the map as a pin with a description so that you can go do this yourself. So I think that'll wind up being the biggest source of information after we've got that up and running. Between now and then, it's a great thing for the community to take and run with. Like, we don't have time necessarily to do all of that by hand, but there are community members who do have time to collect this stuff, and we will happily link to a map or a list or whatever calendar of events the community is working on. And then come DAO, right? This sounds to me like the kind of thing the marketing committee will be responsible for. So, the marketing committee can find gaps like that, can work on documents like this, can solicit the broader community, or the people who are doing things right now will wind up on that marketing committee. So I think there are lots of options to get it going, but very little that like we would be doing personally in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, and I think that's going to be the power of the DAO, is like to empower the community, right? So that's going to be cool. So I think, if you wanted to go ahead and do any of these things, we've seen it in the past and it works out really well. So, feel free to reach out to us, because we're more than happy to present your ideas of what you've built that revolve around the uplift to the community until we get to those points as well. So Smiley asks, what do you anticipate being the biggest challenge as the Uplift world transitions into a DAO?
So, I mean, personally, I think the hardest part is the interface with the rest of the world, right? Like getting this Wyoming DAO locked down, getting the nitpicky details of deals with things like Legend taken care of, but it's not just Legend, it's the whole government and how that all interacts. Getting the DAO token created and linking it up to everything in a legal and safe way, getting those first few votes on, like that's a lot of infrastructure development, and it's a pain in the butt, and a lot of it is very pedantic, but it's the least fun part. I think there's other parts that are challenging, but they're also a lot of fun too, in my opinion.
I'm so excited that those parts are fun for you. Yeah, I would have to agree. Like figuring everything out to the point where we can safely do this, and where we could safely sort of take on the risk and all that kind of stuff has definitely been a challenge, and just making it possible at all, because it was definitely not a foregone conclusion, has been a thing, and it's not over, so that's fun. Yep.
Yeah, and I think it's going to be challenges all the way through as well, but it's going to be interesting to see how
there's so many more fun ones though, like
comes together, right?
Like once we have all of this stuff squared away, and it's just this team going, okay, like the DAO is voicing its opinion. We've got the roadmap out there. Everybody's going to know, what we're working on. Like, we can do crazy fucking shit, like, and challenging stuff, like really challenging stuff. But those are challenges that, like, we're in control of whether or not we succeed, and can put all of our brain power on doing that. And like those are the challenges that get me up at 4:00 in the morning.
Yeah. Next question. And I'm actually going to shuffle in here before I let the person answer, because I want to say my piece, like, because I never get to say my piece. We all know that. Is Corey supportive of showing the Uplift team vote breakdown and be open to question for choice and polls for transparency when the DAO goes live? Now, I just want to say, whether he is or whether he isn't, it's kind of my right to be able to say how I voted. I kind of believe this. And so he would really piss me off if I told him that I don't want my vote to be revealed to the public. However, I'm not that type of person. I kind of do want my vote to be able to be revealed to the public because I think that it's important and it's necessary. But I think that people are kind of putting way too much onus on Corey to, dictate what the team does, which really isn't.
Everybody wants a dictator until they want us to hand over the entire DAO token to them.
So Corey, go with your answer, because I think I know what it is, but it's a question to you. But like, I mean, yeah.
Here's my honest answer. You know how many DAOs I've actively worked in? None. This is all brand new to me, right? And it's brand new for a lot of people in this group, and I think that's the whole community. And it's providing a lot of questions. There's a lot of misunderstanding about the technicalities of what a DAO actually is and what it actually means. There's a lot of strong feelings about the possibilities around it. And I think that passion is something that I share, right? Like we're able to move into a space that I believe is the future of how humans can, collaborate and govern themselves. I think it's really, really important. So my answer is I don't know. I don't know what the right answer is to that. My instinct is that like we want to be as transparent as humanly possible. And I mean, chances are, I like I can't wait to just never have to wonder if I'm allowed to say something again. That's fucking annoying. Like it's really lame. But we're not the only party in this situation right now, and it's like that's sort of the way it is, right? So I'm excited to get to that point where we can just be totally transparent. It's easier, frankly. People can agree, disagree, doesn't matter. But yeah, I mean, that's the thing that I would want to understand it better before I said one thing or another. I don't have a good response to that as to whether or not I could back it or not.
I actually like that question because it asked whether you were supportive or not. And I think like it's an interesting thing because we're in this blockchain space where a lot of people believe that we shouldn't have to reveal our personalities. And then we get questions like this. So I kind of like to hear like Sam and Toddle's response to this as well, maybe.
Yeah, I'll just weigh in on a technical side, right? Like all the DAO voting, like the actual voting will be done on snapshot.org. And that does have lists of all the wallets that voted. So that will be obvious to everybody. And I mean, for something like Corey's vote, if he's voting with his massive sway of tokens, it should be pretty clear that was his wallet. I'm not sure.
Everyone's gonna know what I would do. Yeah. But then like nobody specifically would know. Like you'd be able to poll the team because you'd probably be able to, know more or less who those wallets are, right?
Right, exactly. And there may be some variation from that, but by and large, that transparency is there. The voting is on chain, and you can see which wallets did which votes or made which proposals. So that's all there. There's a clear line in my head of pre and post DAO, right? Like right now, it is the team. We're working with a LLC. We're getting a DAO built, and during this time, we need to have a lot of latitude to make the decisions we need to make to get this DAO running. Once the DAO's in place, that's when the community really comes in. I'll also say that, again, the proposed current DAO structure has a number of committees that are empowered and budgeted and therefore have, different rules. And so the voting isn't, one token, one vote on a committee. The voting on a committee can be decided by that committee and will probably be based on seats on a committee. So there will be opportunities where people have voices or votes that are maybe disproportionate to their amount of DAO tokens, or maybe not even on chain, but those committee actions will be pretty transparent and available to the whole DAO too. So like, I don't think there will be a difficulty in accessing the kind of information you're looking for around that question. Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead, Sam.
I mean, I was also thinking about that usually when there are votes that I've seen, there's just a long list of all of the MetaMask wallets or wax addresses or whatever it is and what they voted yes or no to each proposal. And then people will see like what like how much each vote weighed or how many votes each wallet has. So yeah, they would figure out like which parts are the team. So I think it's kind of already displayed on the blockchain, and I don't really see a need to kind of hide like which person, like which team member owns which wallet. I don't necessarily see a benefit to it. I don't know if I mean, I guess there's the worry about like a target attack, but that would theoretically happen to any of the wallets based on like how many tokens they held.
Yeah. Yeah, all that stuff would be on chain anyway, right?
All right, well, let's go on to the next question. It's by the same person. There have been a number of matters that have created some distrust within the community and between the community and the Uplift team. Well, I mean, yes, and we're trying to resolve those as best we can.
Was that the question?
And no, we were trying to be as transparent as we can. And yeah, so you're still here, and thank you for that. Again, though, Mr. Corey Dictator, what are you doing to address this so that we can all move forward together in an uplifting manner? I think this is more about the team.
No, Jimmy,
right?
let me answer. It's a fair question. Because we haven't been able to say, everything that we would want to, and that, that isn't the only thing that would cause distrust, frankly. Insert giant block of things that I can't discuss. Right? There's a lot of really valid reasons that kernel of distrust popped up. It was a really kind of tumultuous moment, right? And so when it comes to addressing that stuff, I mean, we have people that are answering questions in the Discord like 24 hours a day almost, right? Jimmy, you and I are here every single morning. We answer every question that gets asked in good faith, I should note. Right? I don't respond to the non-constructive FUD, at least not very well. And so the only thing I know how to do is to outwork it, frankly. Right? I mean, we're going to be here tomorrow. We're going to be talking about this stuff and building this stuff, whether or not anyone sticks around or not. Right? And so if this moment, if somebody just like comes around the edge and like sees some FUD in the Discord and goes, oh, this project is terrible or whatever, and they decide to leave because of that, there's nothing that I'm going to do about that. Right? But every single day we're going to come, do this show live. We're going to be in the Discord. We're going to be releasing updates. We're going to be releasing tweets. We're going to be releasing, new white papers. I mean, there's a nonlinear roadmap. How many times, Jimmy, did I say there wasn't going to be a roadmap? I was wrong. It happens, right? So that, for me, that's the only thing I know how to do. Like, there's not like a magic bullet to develop more trust. I think it takes time and it takes delivering on promises. Now, when it comes down to like, everything that we've said that we were going to do, we do it, or we're open about changing our minds. Because, as I have been wont to say on this channel, I reserve the right to change my mind at any time. Right now, this will be interesting. Like when it's a DAO, like, who gives a shit what I think? Like, once it's decided until we decide something else as a group, right? So that's going to be interesting too. So I hope that helps. I mean, there's no magic bullet for this, right? Like Jimmy's writing articles like every freaking 5 minutes. Super Sam's, online, spreading the gospel all over the place. All the people with the galleries are doing all sorts of things. We're, talking to them as much as we can. Everybody in CK7 is doing that, right? Like that. We're just going to outwork it.
Right.
Like
Tuttle's answering questions daily in Discord, right? Like
constantly.
and we get maybe an hour a day to coordinate about things that we're not quite up to speed on.
Yeah, right.
So if it takes, this is my point, right? Like if it takes us like an hour, or a day to figure out what our next move is, it's not always that simple. Right. Like, and so, yeah, I think, sorry, I kind of jumped on the gun there.
No, that's okay. No, I think just like it's super fair. Like it's been a rough moment, or it was a rough moment. I think we're moving past that. And that, what we've seen, it's freaking crypto, right? Like if there's a kernel of distrust that's valid, people can take that and turn it into a bonfire of insanity, which we have seen, right? But like, again, like if somebody has a better idea than just outworking it and showing up every day, and doing all the things that we've been doing, which I think has been a lot. Like literally everyone on the team has been engaged in that effort. If there's something more we can do, let us know.
And, I think this next question proves our case in point, because I don't know the answer to this. I'm not sure, Corey, if you know the answer to this. Tuttle might know the answer to this, but like, how many DAO tokens will be created overall? What will happen to unclaimed tokens? And will the team members' percentage stay the same if not all players' tokens are claimed? So the total number is reduced, but percentages stay the same. So let's take this one step at a time. Maybe, Chris, you can answer this. How many DAO tokens will be created overall? Do we have a number for that?
So we haven't decided on the final number. What we've decided on instead is the distribution based on percentages. So at this point, it wouldn't really matter if we released 1,000 DAO tokens or 100,000 or 10 million. The percentage breakdown would still be the same. I think right now Dr. Wayne is technically in charge of deciding a number, but really, like, there are decisions that go into there, but it's mostly a psychological decision-making process. It shouldn't really impact governance, what number of zeros we use on the token itself.
So the order of it is the only thing that would matter, right? Because the two distributions, whether or not how much would be claimed, will 100% be claimed or not. We won't know that until
right.
The end of the
so
second.
What happens? Yeah, and so the plan for distribution 1 is there's going to be a window where people will register their interest. I don't know what word we're going to use for this yet, maybe reserve their token. And as long as they've reserved their token, they can then claim it at any time. It's not going to expire. They can claim it to their MetaMask wallet, use it for voting at any point. If they don't reserve it during that window, then all the tokens that were not reserved are going to go back into the pool for the second distribution to landholders and Upliftium burners. That second distribution, we haven't decided if we're going to have a window on that or if it's going to be unlimited for reserving as well. If we do have a window, then any unclaimed tokens from that second window will go into the DAO's general treasury, and the DAO can vote on what to do with them later. It's not going to be distributed to other people at that point. If we decide to keep the claim indefinite, then it will just be indefinite, and there will be some tokens that are going to take a long, long time to claim on the second window. But the first window will have a definite claim, or reserve window, I should say.
And in terms of why we're saying reserve, is there was some questions around this being on Ethereum and what happens with the gas prices and things like that. So I guess it's more of an intent to be able to, be part and want to claim them in the future, rather than actually having to pay $1 million to do one transaction for Ethereum gas.
For the record,
probably won't be.
Ethereum gas has been crashing hard, guys.
Right.
It's not even that bad anymore.
Right.
Depending on when you do it, like
it's been super reasonable for sure.
Yeah, most of my transactions lately have been like $20, which again,
$20-$30. Yeah.
Right. Every Wax is used to free, but there's way more than $20 worth of good reason why we're doing this.
Right.
Totally, and you can time it, right? So again, with this reserve window, you can then claim it at any point. You could wait for gas to be very low. You could put a transaction through with like 12 guai and wait for a weekend evening where it happens to finally get picked up and go through. That's no problem. We have talked about maybe making a way for burning Upliftium or spending Wax to get us to pay the gas for a claim transaction. We're not sure about that one yet, but it seems doable, because like I know that there's nothing we can do about people who are scared about being on ETH. They're going to have to see the value and decide when they're ready to come over. But for people who, say, don't want to go through an exchange to get that little bit of gas to claim your first token, we may be able to smooth that path. We've also started looking a little bit at Matic as well. Like, as far as I know, snapshot.org supports Ethereum and Matic, and I believe it allows simultaneous voting with both, but I haven't had enough time to dig into that in great detail. If it does, and if the thing is completely seamless, then of course we would add Matic claiming, so that you could just claim it to your MetaMask on Matic. But the goal here is to be supporting the Ethereum ecosystem here with our token, and work with the liquidity pools over there, snapshot.org.
So just to wrap that up, Mr. Giant Melon Man, love your builds, by the way. The total number is reduced, but percentages stay the same. Yes, the percentages of the DAO token drops will always stay the same. So that if people don't claim, it won't mean that the team gets more, because the percentages will always equate to one another. So next question. When will support system be changed? It was mentioned sometimes that there will be support ticket system on Discord someday. I mean, I don't even think we use anything other than Discord right now, right? So Go ahead.
Right. No, so we're not using Zendesk at all at this point. We're just using the Discord support channel. Smiley in Discord has been working on a Discord support system, a ticketing system that people can use in Discord. Personally, I've had an issue with some of the bots that you can use because they have to DM you, and it's a bit of a pain in the butt to try to open up your DMs, especially now that Discord has so many scam attempts on it. And I would hate for our support bot to be a vector for that. So we're going to try to make sure that that's not an issue. But again, we're heading towards DAO and transparency. Like, it's not like there's going to be a small group of people on the team making decisions for support tickets either. So like, I would prefer as much of this as possible happens openly in the support channel. It gives other people chances to weigh in. 90% of the time, the community can solve the problem. They don't necessarily need a developer to look at a support ticket either. So yeah, it's definitely an expanding thing.
Okay, next question. What is your plan to make people come for our community? I mean, like, honestly, Corey, this makes me laugh because, like, in a way, like, we do the show every single day and we spend so much time focusing on how to, like, you know, build a community of value that we drop the ball sometimes on actual promotion.
It is actual promotion.
right. But
it's
we're
not different.
Right, I agree. But we're not traditional, like, one-liner, big flashy signs. We're building a community of value, and I think that in time people will see that. Now, that's my personal, honest perspective. I mean, I'd love to hear Jen weigh in on this, maybe Sam as well, everybody here on this panel, Corey, obviously, like, Chris, like, what do you guys think? Like, I just think our community is awesome, and eventually we're going to outshine the rest. It might take us a little bit longer, but people are going to see the value in what we bring.
Yeah, as far as like where I like how do we 5x the number of people in the uplift? The grind that Super Sam is doing all the time, and everybody else, like, because I know, Jimmy, you do a lot of the social media stuff too, right? The consistent and persistent availability in Discord, doing this show, and for me, the show is about community, like basically not connecting with a couple people that are watching or whatever, but connecting with, you know, the communities of the ballers in this ecosystem, right? That's kind of always been, you know, the way that we've operated, and, you know, it comes to doing different collaborations and doing all these different things, right? So we're building a very, very deep network, and a very tight and strong network that, you know, I think might grow a little bit slower, but will last infinitely longer than a flash in the pan, right? At least in my opinion.
Just one tiny thing to jump in with. Like, to me, we're in alpha, right? And like, we may not, like, how to get more people into the game is maybe not the right question even, right? Like, if we wanted a bunch of players in the game, there are lots of ways we can do so. You saw it with Season 1 rewards, right? Like, you put out transparent movement or time-based rewards, and you're going to have tons of people in their bot armies in here trying to get the most out of the reward system, and that's not necessarily good for the community. I would say what we've been doing during this alpha is building a core community of ambassadors and builders who are going to be working on the uplift with us from here on out. And the real question is, in the future, as soon as the DAO is formed, when and how do we all together want to reach out and pull in that next wave of people who are maybe not quite so intimately connected, but are still going to have a really great time in the ecosystem? And some of them will join that core community. But the people who are here now, they're the team. It's not just us that are the team. It's the whole group of people that are getting ready for what's coming next. So
I totally agree. I think the marketing committee is going to be play a huge role here in kind of figuring out the best way to reach out, get new community members, how to maybe bridge from explaining what the blockchain is to people who might be interested in playing in Minecraft but don't really understand blockchain. And I think something else we were talking about is potentially when we have the marketing committee and the DAO is formed, figuring out how to reach out to other communities and maybe potentially figuring out some partnerships. So that will be cool. And I think the DAO will give us some power to be able to do that as a group.
I think, too, it's also important to focus on...
It's a really good point.
The community we have and what else they're doing. everyone in this community, who I've met anyway, is involved knee deep in some other blockchain thing or some other project or something creative, and it's an incredible group of amazing people. But with everybody having one foot in someone else's basket, we have a lot of potential for areas where we could reach out. And I think that a really easy way to do that is to find out what other people are doing and find out how to bring that in and to build the community we have by building on what they have. Also community involvement. I mean, right now with the end party planning, that's going interestingly. It's a ton of fun. There are a bunch of people with a whole bunch of different ideas, and it's amazing what happens when you give the community a bit of a voice and say, hey, how about you make that decision? And then all of a sudden there are all these ideas and all these things, and you go back and forth, and then, you know, bring in somebody on the technical end and go back and forth, and then there's a hold my beer moment, and suddenly you've got something amazing. So I think, you know, if that's what my one experience with one event, if we have community people with a marketing mind who are able to do the same thing for marketing, it's hard not to imagine it exploding, just simply because the people who are here are amazing. And I cannot say that enough.
Well, and I think it's interesting that you point that out as well, because, you know, if you've ever learned another language as an adult, you know that there's like a plateau that you reach that you can't go any further. And then you kind of jump. And what's interesting when I look at this in the Uplift world is I see Genesis actually has jumped to the next plateau. When we look at the Genesis world, there are people flying around checking out builds because it's so developed, it's been there for so long, that people are actually invested in seeing what other people have done. But when we look at, like, you know, some of the other servers, Uplift or Londum, or Gratitude, Borvalis and Swinelands, people are, like, you know, knee deep into building their own plots so that people will come. And we haven't really reached that plateau. But think, like, you know, a year down the road or 6 months down the road, when these servers are, like, you know, more developed and you have new players coming in, potentially from other chains, which we'll get to in a minute, and how much, you know, passion and involvement is going to go in. And then, you know, what Jen was saying about all of these different people as communities, and what Corey's been saying for ages about this being a meeting place where people can go and explore, you know, all of these other projects. It's going to be a really interesting place to be, I think, in the Uplift world. Like, I read an article today that just, like, made me shake my head, because, like, yeah, it was posted on our Discord in the private chat, and it was, you know, about another Minecraft-based project, and how they were touting, you know, the amazing things that they were doing. And what was amazing to me was all of our community members that were in that chat at that time were like, oh man, just wait till they hear about the Uplift. This is gonna blow.
You know what it
their
reminds me
socks
of?
off, right?
Like, I was talking to Ken Bozak and Miggy Crypto and Nathan McCrory yesterday. A little surprise, little drop in on their show. And Miggy was at ETH Denver. He was talking to, you know, a lot of the people and devs and stuff about Wax, and nobody had heard about it. And the second they'd heard about it, they're like, wait a minute, what? Right? And that, like, every convention that I've been to, when people find out what's going on Wax, they're like, wait a minute, why haven't I heard about this? And they're, like, literally buying it on their phone, right? When we're there, right? It yeah, I have that same feeling. I got, like, if people could see everything that's built, like, just the way that this has been percolating in this ecosystem so far, I think you know, people would lose their minds. And it's like a tiny percentage of where we're going to be in a year.
Yeah, it kind of leads us into our next question from MGJ. Charlie, does the team plan to? I love how, like, the AMA questions Discord channel right now, when we're live, is just kicking off. By the way, this is awesome. But anyway, does the team plan to make Uplift World available on multi-chains, especially Ethereum, which is more popular regarding NFTs?
So yeah, in the nonlinear roadmap, you'll see options that we've laid out for that. Hopefully that's going to be coming. I'm really hoping we're going to get a draft out to people on Friday so that the community can give some serious feedback and also help us with the wording to make it as optimistic and exciting as possible, because white papers are often very technical and it's nice to bring a bunch of character back into it. But you will see that we've got plans there for Polyworld, right? A world on Matic, where there's going to be an open NFT sale for it. We already have a couple of community clusters, but the idea would be to then, do an NFT sale just like we did on Wax, either a blind box pack or a pick your plot. We haven't decided, and the DAO will be involved in that sort of decision making. We also have plans for Ethereum as well. Obviously, with the DAO token on Ethereum, we've got options, but we would like to solicit some of the bigger groups on Ethereum and let them know that we're around. And so one of the ways we could be doing that is by using holders of big NFT projects as allow lists in order to get a small world that is Ethereum based going. There are options for this. Either we give them the opportunity to upgrade their NFT, quote unquote, and get an asset on Wax, get an asset on ETH, or just have the NFT itself be recognized like in our planet land with a location in world. And the DAO is going to be very critical in deciding which of those paths is going to be the most exciting, because both have ups and downs and different kinds of impacts on the community. I think those are the two key ones, although there's some other stuff in the nonlinear roadmap. Trying to decide which we prioritize and why is going to be a big part of the DAO, not just because you guys have a sum total of knowledge that's much better than ours, but also because a lot of individual community members are going to determine how successful we are on some of these other chains, right? We're going to have to go into those discords. We're going to have to let people know we exist, and we want the community to be on board with whatever decisions are made there. One thing that's not clear yet that, again, the DAO will probably have some input on is I've been pushing really hard for one world, one chain right now, so that all of the NFTs for a world exist on one chain, so that you're not like looking for a plot and finding out it's not on ETH, but it's on Wax or vice versa or anything like that. The DAO might have a different opinion there. I know the team is ever so slightly split on it as well, so maybe we could change from that. But for simplicity's sake, it might make sense for everyone to keep in their heads one world, one chain for now. It just makes things a lot easier and eliminates some of those early questions.
And if you've been around this show long enough, you know that the only thing that annoys Corey more than Jimmy D's coupon rants as NFTs is when do we get to go to Terra? So let's just leave it there.
Yeah, Jimmy's definitely an advocate for the Terra blockchain for sure.
Yeah, well, and I'll put this out here too. Like, this is where the DAO really comes into play. If a partner, like if somebody in the DAO connects us to a chain that has a project on that chain that is willing to do the work to make it easy for us to read those NFTs and put them in game, we'll be ready to move over to that chain, right? And I'm sure the DAO will probably agree. But having to determine which development resources you use internally versus relying on partners for that, is one of the decisions that DAO and project management is going to have to make as we go.
Yeah, that's a really good point too, right? Like we've got some amazing developers, some amazing people who truly, honestly know what they're doing. But right now we're based entirely on EOS.io, right? And so when you have to branch out into these other chains with these other programming languages, we've seen this, we talked about this with Sean of Crypto Writer. I mean, even, they're going cross-chain 5 different blockchains right now. And one of their biggest problems actually on Terra is that they don't have their own developer and they have to outsource it all. So when you have to outsource these things to developers that you don't actually have in-house, it can become problematic and things can, get derailed in terms of fixing issues and stuff like that. So I don't think that we're quite there yet to be able to go onto every single chain. But I think Chris says, it's going to be really interesting to discuss when we, expand the communities and we get into the whole, DAO segment of where we can go from here type of scenario.
Yeah, I like NMC Masaki multi-chain merge into a super chain. That's my vote. Multi-chain merges into a super chain. Done.
Right.
Yeah, somebody in the community used the phrase cross-chain glue that holds the Minecraft metaverse together, and that is just sticking in my head.
Yeah, and when I talk to people about this and we talk about going to different chains, and I let them know that you could be on Genesis and you can walk over to, again, the map we're proposing for Polygon. They've been begging us for a map for a long time, right? They've got a lot of projects connected. Talk about bringing in, a couple, 3, 4, 5,000 people at a time. That's the way to do it. And anyway, so like you'd be able to walk, through the portal hub from Genesis, over there. It's connected. In our world, they're not separate, right? Like all the tribes that are out there and all the tribalism that's out in crypto, great, but now you're neighbors, right? And the experience once you're there is going to be the same as what we've come to kind of know and love, right? So I think, I get really excited about that. There's a lot of possibility there.
And of course, with our rewards being Wax and Upliftium being claimable as NFTs on Wax right now, anything that we do on other chains is going to encourage these people to have a presence on Wax, right? And anyone who's looking at land plots on other chains is, de facto going to also look on Atomic Hub and figure this out. And so I think that's going to be very exciting. And then down the line, the DAO can absolutely vote for one of the things we've looked at is the idea of being able to claim Upliftium on other chains to crystallize it to a different chain as well. And that creates a whole economy that is just fascinating to think about.
Right. One thing that, because we've been talking about this internally, I don't know how much people know about this, but we're talking about basically making proposals for doing 1 kilometer by 1 kilometer maps from here on in as the max, right? A lot of that is about server capacity and creating more efficiency. A lot of it is just like we put out a lot of land, right? So I think it sort of makes more sense to do it that way for a number of different reasons. What that means is if we partnered with 25 different blockchains, I don't even think there's really 25 blockchains we could partner with. That would be the same amount of land as Genesis, right? So just understanding how much we're putting out there in these future iterations, I think is going to be important for people to understand. And
again, we're maintaining all these servers where other projects aren't. You're forced to maintain your own servers in some of these other projects. So we're going to get to scaling questions a little bit later, but that's just something to keep in mind, right? All right. Will any meetings be live streamed for transparency? I understand that some people cannot due to security, but will others be made available for all to see? So I actually sat on a DAC that made them all transparent, and I'm kind of interested to hear what you guys think about that, to be honest.
Oh yeah, I mean, in my mind, absolutely. So again, pre-DAO, no, right? We're getting the DAO organization together. It's a different story. But once the DAO comes up, there's going to be a Discord channel for each of the committees, and there's no reason for the video transcripts of their main meetings to not be made available. The rewards committee meetings would obviously have to not be exposed to people because they're going to be making decisions on the rewards pool and rewards changes themselves. So, that's the only one that really comes to mind as having to be separate. There may obviously be votes to do development on various skunkwork projects more in secret, but the vote to start that development would have to exist somewhere as well. So yes, I see a lot of that. I also think that a general weekly meeting, Discord probably on Discord video stream with everybody who is able to attend makes perfect sense. Just make the huddle mainstream. So.
And the project that I sat on did something quite interesting because most of the meetings, the marketing meetings and those meetings, they were kept private. But what they did was one time a week, they would come together and the group leaders of those meetings would kind of give a special kind of report on what they'd been working on over the course of the week. And so I could totally see once we port into the DAO structure, a lot of this stuff actually happening in the public. And it's good in a way because that will totally get people to understand the value of being part of the DAO and being able to have a say in what decisions get made and what gets done. And it'll almost become like a recruiting mechanism in a way to be able to, bring new people into the governance system.
No, it's the recruiting mechanism. It's also the bureaucracy, right? This is how our meetings our minutes basically get disseminated. Like you say about reports, the committees will be making reports that will have to go to the DAO. And if the DAO finds that a committee is not doing enough, the DAO might wind up making votes to replace committee members. That there have to be mechanisms for all of those structures here. And this is one of the ways that happens is through, utmost transparency, because then everyone's already on the same page.
All right, next question from the boss. What is the best way to get rewards playing on the plot? Well, my answer is quite simple. Keep doing what you're doing and try new things. All right, moving on.
No, I've got a really good answer to that one too, though. The best way to get rewards is to build scholarships, right? Is to bring other people in, to add them as members to your plots, to give them purpose, to maybe do some streams with them, to build your own little sub-communities around the land that you've got. It's not necessarily to go in there yourself and do any one activity for a whole bunch of time in order to get rewards. One of the things on the roadmap are guilds, right? Which will allow shared management of land, nested regions, pooling of rewards and redistribution of those rewards in the guild based on other characteristics. And so the people who have started early, built those connections, and have their whole guild more or less pre-founded are going to be in a really good position come that release.
Your network is your net worth. Write that shit down and just stare at it all day long. It doesn't matter if it's Upliftium or anything else.
I haven't been silent all day, but I'm writing it down in my head and taking, pictures of it.
Yeah. Little mental screenshots.
So we've had like lots of different, not guilds, but lots of different communities that have come in and done stuff. And I think next week we're having the SG, the Supreme Gang, amazing Uplift race is happening on their plot over in London, and it's going to stretch across all servers, which is going to be quite interesting. You can read about what's happening there. We've had a lot of people that have reached out to us for certain events, and so that kind of leads into the next question. Do you have any ideas for future events you'd like to share? I think that the right time with some great YouTube content and editing during events, these special events would draw a crowd of viewers, hopefully, and plug away the projects. All right. So like as a person who's been like on the inside, like the amount of things that we put out in the last 6 months, the contests, the build contest, the YouTube contest, the content contest, the events that people have come to us, like we can barely keep up on that. I think like from my perspective, I want to see the community outsource their events as much as possible in terms of coming up with new ideas, and we can kind of feature those as the time comes. And going back to what Chris was saying about building a network of people, like you can do that and host events almost unlimitedly in a way, right? Like we've got 3 events coming up and or have transpired in the last 2 weeks. Like I'm thinking that we could do one every 2 or 3 days, like if the situation is right. Like the one that's happening in with the SG, the one that's happening with the SG gang in London, that's going to stretch across servers. There's no technical lift on our end. They're just going to do it, and they have community support to donate the project. So, I mean, the sky is the limit there, and like I'm personally happy to feature as many events as you guys can come up with that will, empower your network. I don't know if I'm reading this. Maybe somebody else has a different take on it. But again, like, do you have any ideas for new future events you'd like to share? Anyone else on the panel want to kind of dive into this?
Well, so I'll let
throw it out there. Oh, sorry. What? What'd you say?
No, go ahead.
Oh, I just wanted to quickly throw it out there that if you are a community member and you have an event coming up, or you think you might want to plan one, you can just make like a quick poster or flyer with like a description and where the event is going to be. And if you DM me, I can post and share it from our official Uplift World Twitter and socials. So that's something that I love doing, is like going through Twitter and seeing what all of our community members are doing and what's going on, and like, promoting that and sharing it. So yeah, wanted to throw that out there.
I love that. I'll give a little like structural insight too. So yeah, right now, between now and like the DAO coming up, it's mostly community events. Jen can talk about the end event, which is technically more official, but again, like the whole point was to pull a bunch of the community in to help build this event, right? It's not us necessarily doing it all by ourselves. After the DAO, there's a committee proposed for events specifically. So then any community member would have the option of still running events by themselves, but they'll also know exactly which group of people to go to say, hey, look, this is what I want to do. Can you guys accommodate it? Is there an additional tech lift that I'm not seeing? And work together with the events group to turn any community event into something more official as well. We on the nonlinear roadmap, you will see a list of event types, things like Battle Royale, Skyblock, Bed Wars, and stuff that we can organize on experience worlds that we haven't done yet. And that's all very exciting. Some of it requires a bit of text, some doesn't. But again, any of those bullet points would be better off flushed out by the DAO into the event that the community is most excited to participate in, not just the one that we think might go over the best. So.
All right, so if anyone's following along in the Discord, I may have glossed over a couple things, but I thought that maybe we had answered this, so we'll go back to it. Is there a roadmap for increasing server capacity? Are you expecting the daily users to increase after the land sale? Will the servers be able to cope with any significant increase? I think the answer to that is when we scale the servers down to a smaller size, and every world is running on its own server, then the capacity of each server will kind of mimic, in a sense, the events, whereby we won't have as much lag and as much issues as we do in the larger servers. Now, I could be wrong about that, but that's my take on it.
Yeah, so basically, future worlds, smaller worlds, are going to be a lot easier to manage, for sure, right? Mm-hmm. So we can have more people on a smaller world, period. Even for existing worlds, we're seeing, say, a lot more people and activity in Uplift, and I think that there is this migration of a world from the wide open frontier where everything can happen into eventually a city that is congested and has rules and caps and other things that make sure everything functions properly. So, for example, in Uplift, we have the option of pressing a button to turn off natural mob spawning. It still seems to let mob spawners work and animals breed, but it turns off that random spawning. And that gives us back enough resources, I'm pretty sure, to get hundreds of people in. It's a huge burden right now. I won't say that we're not also dealing with other TPS issues. There may be some bugs that we haven't sorted out all the way yet. There's also plugins that we want to rewrite that take up resources. That's all going to take time, and the DAO vote for the budget to make that all happen. But that will gain back resources. And I mean, I think those are the main things, right? There are options and things we can do right away to deal with congestion on bigger worlds. We just, again, as the team, would rather not make that decision unilaterally. It would be nice for the DAO to get involved and say, yeah, we all agree it's time for Uplift to have these changes. We also have the world observers, which are doing an amazing job going through and finding, auto farms and massive animal breeding activities and trying to wrangle lag from that direction. I think as that expands out into a proper rules and bans committee, it's going to be even more effective. And we'd like to put tools on so that people can see and manage their own lag and TPS suits to a certain extent as well. So yeah, lots hopefully coming.
Yeah, we talk about this constantly as far as the scaling stuff, and there's a bunch of things we can do to incrementally add into it. Again, the smaller maps thing, and I don't want to talk about it yet because it might be nothing, but we've got a bunch of different things that we're exploring in the sort of the R&D wing of the Skunkworks group that are super fascinating as well. So it's going to be an ongoing challenge, and one that we're just going to keep chipping away at until we get some awesomeness, or more awesomeness, I guess.
Another one I might have glazed over that I totally missed. Sorry, it's 1 o'clock in the morning for me here, so I do apologize if I missed any of your questions. But again, if I miss them, just put them in the Discord and we'll get to them next time too. Any plans for anything like a Nemesis in the future, or reviving Nemesis is the question.
I vote hardcore no.
Yeah, so sort of, right? If you see again on the roadmap, the two options for that are an events server, right? An events world with admission-based stuff that is extremely hardcore that people can go on to experience all of that. They can reset every couple of weeks or every season with leaderboards. So then people have all that hardcore experience. They have an open world with no plots on it to do whatever they want on it, but they paid some Upliftium to get in, and then they can have all the fun they want. We won't do, as far as we're concerned, if the DAO has a huge difference, that's something, but we don't want to do a resource world for our survival cluster in any form, whether it's an easy world or a hard world. We don't want to give people the opportunity to go off their plot and basically infinitely mine resources right now. We're testing some things. We're trying to develop an economy in the survival cluster, and that doesn't seem like the best plan. There is also the option of starting up a hardcore survival cluster, right? And if the DAO wants to do that, it's a great idea. And so that would involve, like, it could be just the same types of worlds gridded exactly the same way, but with the difficulty way up, with PvP on and keep inventory off. Or it could be more imaginative, like I've been talking about, say, enclaves that guilds can buy that are fairly large plots, and then the guild can divide them up or subdivide them, or just, you know, do nested regions with their people for management, and then a bunch of wilderness in between that, yes, anyone can build on or use, but it's hardcore mode and it's, you know, built right into that world. And so then there's, you know, war that happens between the enclaves.
As it turned PvP all the way on. Yeah, I think for me all those ideas are fantastic. I love that stuff. The biggest thing, watching what happened when you know, the economy was no longer being flooded with all the stuff that was just freely available in Nemesis, was a huge lesson just for me personally. Like, watching that difference, it just, you know, reduces the value of the land and all the plots in the survival cluster. Like, why would we do that? Especially when you could have like a crazy freaking guild battle freaking map. What the frick? That sounds crazy.
I mean, I personally like the idea of sometime down the road, you know, potentially spinning up a server that's disconnected from the, you know, mainstream survival economy, where like hardcore gamers could just come in and, like, you know, kill each other.
That's kind of what you just said.
Right?
But even like a one like that, and I think Chris, you mentioned this as well, like having something like that where, you know, there is like leaderboards or whatever like that, like having and I don't know if that's maybe more of a sort of a traditional Minecraft server style or whatever, but like that there's probably an infinite number of variations that we could play with, as long as they're iterations that are not connected to this survival cluster or to that economic zone.
And again, we've already had issues where, like, well, I mean, we've already had conversations whereby, I guess, if the guild were to go too far and do certain things, that like potentially they could be voted out of that survival cluster because of the economy. And I'm not really sure how that's going to pan out in the DAO structure, but I think it's like, I'm with you. I think it's really important that we sorry, go ahead.
No, I just wanted to do a terminology thing here, because now that we're doing a DAO, it's gotten a little complicated. So we have the Uplift DAO, which is what we've all been talking about right now. And then we also have world DAOs, which is what we've been talking about for a long time. And like what you're talking about with world DAOs, the idea of a group of people coming together, burning a huge amount of Upliftium to choose a small world out of basically a vending machine, then to pick a bunch of rules for that world, like do creepers explode, you know, is PvP on, all of this. Once they've picked those rules, see which clusters they could join. And if they join one and then start violating those rules, having the cluster being able to kick them out, right, is super cool. But like, again, that's sort of an end stage DAO project, because that creates the constant world churn and the new land that could keep up as we grow if we reach that kind of hockey stick growth level. But it's not something that has to be implemented directly early necessarily, I think, especially now that we've got a real DAO kicking up.
Right, or maybe even can be implemented early. But yeah, sorry, thank you for that clarification. I kind of got confused there. Or I didn't get confused, but I might have confused other people, which is common on the show if you're a regular member. Subscribe, like, we love it. Chris, for shops, would it be possible, or is there a site that can identify the costs and items where they're located? I think that there's a shop channel in Discord where people kind of do this. There's again, I think that this isn't something that we really as a team have the capacity to be able to track and post about. But like, if other people want to go out there and make a business for themselves out of this, that would be great. I think that there's a definite need for that. And I kind of feel like, for me, when I'm writing posts on the article site, I want to feature great builds. And I've actually had the thought of, like, maybe we do something where we can feature various shops, and we could, you know, potentially even charge Upliftium to have featured posts when their businesses are marketing. I'm not really sure how that's going to work out in the end, but like, for right now, I think for you shop owners out there, it's maybe a good thing to think about how you can, you know, monopolize the. I'm going to stop now.
I mean, like, I think what you're trying to say, because there was already some people that were collecting a lot of that data and
Right.
publishing it.
Mm.
And yeah, we definitely, I don't think that's anywhere on our list of things to do right now. And an enterprising community member could absolutely figure out how to add some value and
Right.
make a little side hustle out of that for sure.
Well, and again, maybe two approaches, like what Jimmy was saying, like an enterprising community member, especially a shop owner, may be inclined to build up all this data, do a website, run something, and it could help the whole community. Also, as we hit the DAO, though, I'd love to condition everybody to think about this. And if we're not immediately saying, yes, this is something that we've planned, that we have ideas for, that we've already walked down, it doesn't mean it doesn't get done in the DAO. Like, make this into a 1 or a 2 page proposal. Say, hey, look, the DAO should collect all this information, should have a form that intakes, current shop prices, should post this over here. It's going to take one person's part-time activity to do this. We want to pay that person X amount of money, put the whole proposal together. And then that's the kind of thing that will be sitting there on the DAO. And once it reaches enough quorum of, yes, we want to vote on it, it'll hit a vote. And if the vote's successful, then budget will be allocated for it. People will be looked into to be assigned to or hired for it, and it can happen, right? All the mechanics are in place there now, or coming. So
love it.
Yeah, and I mean, the budget time equation is really kind of quite important, because we're a very small team that has bootstrapped this thing together for the last few months. And I think one of the things that I really appreciate about this team is other than, the general meetings that we do, almost daily and touch base and in our private channels, most people go about doing things their own way, and it works out brilliantly. All of the community managers, all of the back end people, all of the people who are developing strategies for our future plans, this is all coming together, and we're kind of, looking at people's skill set and empowering them to maximize those, right? And so we don't necessarily have the capacity to lift up some of these, ideas in terms of management. And I think that's where the DAO is really going to come into value, in a sense, right? Once you have these communities that are looking at how to make the best out of what they want the uplift to be, then you're going to be able to do these proposals and vote on these things, and it's going to be quite amazing. So we're almost done. We're at about 1 hour. I think we got one more question, so we'll let that go. And if you were in the comments, actually, we just only got through the Discord questions. So if you had a question in the comments that we didn't answer, please hop into the official Uplift World Discord channel and drop your comments in there, and we'll try to address them, because I'd actually like to do this on a more regular basis. I don't know whether it'll be bi-weekly or monthly, but I think this is a really good value add for the community, and it might not always be the same people, but we'll try our best to show up here on a regular basis and answer these questions. So Masaki, this is probably way further down the road, but I'm interested in taking out loans against NFTs. I believe it will be huge. Is there a plan for this, or possibly a third-party project for that? Not sure how many exist. I mean, I love the idea about being able to take out loans on NFTs, but I don't think it's in our purview right now as official Uplift World, standardization.
Yeah, I mean, so again, not the team, right, or not right this second. I've seen there's stuff on ETH that exists really cool, but the DAO has the option of valuing these land tokens, right? Because we can always reclaim and resell them right in packs, right? We could regenerate plots, resell them. They have a baseline value to the DAO. So if, again, somebody wants to do up a couple page proposal saying, hey, I think we should dedicate, a $10,000 fund to managing an NFT loan pool against land tokens, and they do all the economics of that up, there's a really good chance the DAO would be excited to do that, and it might be worth a test budget. But it's not something that the team has currently planned. Very exciting, though, and fun.
Or if some other project per se Kate or any of these other projects wanted to swoop in and do that, that would be pretty cool. So Corey, this next one's for you, because you're always spilling the beans. So I kind of want to know this as well.
Go on.
Any exciting timelines or plans available to be talked about in this live stream?
Yes. Rewind to the beginning.
Well, maybe I'll spill beans then if Corey's less excited. Really, really hoping to get a draft of the white paper out to the community by Friday or Monday. It's going to have a couple of sections deliberately removed from it just for ease of discussion, but like we want everybody's help in wording this. We want everyone to get excited about where things are going, and we don't want to be publishing a final white paper for all of you guys to explore. We want to publish a draft for you guys to look at. So we're going to try really hard to get that out on Friday or Monday. Currently, we do have earmarked the land auction for mid-March. We're not totally sure exactly when, but there's a really good chance it's going to start mid-March. We don't want to push it a huge amount later. We're currently hoping to do the snapshot for the first distribution somewhere around the end of March or early April. And if all goes extremely well, we're really hoping to be voting by the end of April, right? But these are preliminary timelines. It just helps you guys get your heads around things, and lots of things could change. But I don't think it hurts for you guys to have an idea of where we're trying to target right now. Those plus the end event, which is slotting into this 3-week off season. I'm not totally sure exactly which date or how long it's going to run, are probably the key bits of information we can share that are going to get you guys the most excited. But yeah.
I mean, that nailed it. Thank you for that. So yeah, what you said.
I just want to say that, like, if this is an event and I could just figure out a way to like adapt the Gangs of New York cover image for this, that would be the best. I mean, 40 to 100 people to kill the boss fighting all together. And yeah.
Are you seriously going to chop it right there? You lunatic. I love it. That's funny. It's just like, yeah, leave on some stuff that we don't really have any way of doing. Now, granted, like giant wars between guilds, I think like that kind of ends up doing that and adding, some kind of
and again, like so much of the questing and PvE stuff is community time, or time, like hours put into writing things, developing lore, choosing all of this stuff. And there's this development lift in making some tools available, but it's such a great thing for the DAO to pursue, right? And I would love everyone who has a question about any of these ideas to seriously fire up Google Docs, make a 1 or 2 pager for it, and you won't regret having that on deck in the next couple of months.
That's something we should repeat a lot. Like, have an idea, fire up a 1 pager. And I mean, that's how we work. We've been doing that internally from the beginning, and it's been really effective. So that's smart. All right, well, thank you guys all for hanging out with us for this. It's definitely the first one of many. We're going to do these on a regular cadence. I'm really, really excited, Chris and Sam, that we got to have you guys here for this. It's just made it a heck of a lot more fun for me. Because, like, I mean, Jimmy's all right. But, you can only hear about NFT coupons so many times before you lose your freaking mind.
Well, and Jen in the background, like for
That's
answering
true,
a few questions in the Discord, that was really good too. So thanks.
Indeed.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
And scene. Onward, upward.
You all are awesome. Talk to you soon.
Woo! Choppy chop, Jimmy. Oh, Sam.